The Buddha said to Ananda, "The majestic radiance of the Buddha of immeasurable life is exalted and supreme. The radiance of other Buddhas cannot compare with it. For this reason, the Buddha of immeasurable light is called Buddha of immeasurable light, boundless, Buddha of boundless light, Buddha of unhindered light, Buddha of incomparable light, Buddha of light that is Lord of blazing light, Buddha of the light of purity." Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Sensei.
You'll have to excuse my movement. My body is a little sore from yesterday. For those of you who do not know, yesterday we had our annual Tri-Temple softball tournament. And congratulations to Seattle Betsuin for winning the trophy this year. It was a very, very successful game. It was a very fun game, and all around, all the temples did an amazing job. It was exciting, and we were playing until the very end, and everybody did a wonderful job. I certainly hope we will win the trophy again next year, but again, as our wonderful coach Ikeda has to remind me again and again, remember, Reverend, this is all for fun. But I would like to talk today a little bit about the benefits of actually losing, right? This sounds kind of interesting, doesn't it? The benefits of losing. You see, the other thing that's going on right now that I'm wondering if all of you have been watching are the Olympics. Has anyone here been watching the Olympics on NBC and watching the exciting like diving and gymnastics and all of the and track and all those and fencing, right? All those different sports. They're very fun to watch, and they can really get your heart rate going, especially towards the last minute, right? But one of the benefits of seeing a lot of these Olympics, for me at least, is seeing all of the hard work and training that these athletes do to get where they are. Now, of course, it's always wonderful and great, and we can show a little bit of like USA pride. Sometimes if the US athlete gets the gold, right? You're like, ooh, we want that. But at the end of the day, what's really important, what really matters, is that the Olympic athletes trained and honed their skills to actually be able to qualify to go to the Olympics in the first place. What an honor. I mean, to represent your country, where all these countries come together to compete. And what's even more heartwarming to me is even after everything is done and after the match is concluded and there is a clear winner, most of the time, 90% of the time, I would say, we can see the two teams come together and congratulate each other on a very successful game. This to me is what really matters and shows real good sportsmanship. But the importance and the benefits of losing, if a person always wins, or if your team always wins, if you never, ever, ever lose, right, negative things can come out of that too. I'm not saying that we should try to lose or that we shouldn't try to do our best, right? But at the same time, if we always win, if we always, do the best or have like victory 100% of the time, we can become arrogant, we can become complacent, we can get lazy ourselves, and and we can become not very nice people or very good-hearted people. I think losing sometimes gives us a lesson in humility and a good lesson in sometimes that the other team might have played a little bit better, or the other competitor might have trained a little harder. Who knows? Or maybe there are other aspects, right, that contributed to the outcome not being the one that we wanted. In Buddhism, I think that the greatest competition that we have is with ourselves. Not to compete with other people. I can say Nembutsu more than you. I can sit in Zazen longer than you, right? The competition actually lies within ourselves. Jodo Shinchu is actually a little bit harder because Jodo Shinchu requires us, especially when saying Namo Amida Butsu, to let go of our ego, to let go of our self-centered attitude, in a sense, to surrender ourselves to, or not surrender, I shouldn't say surrender ourselves, but to entrust ourselves to the working of the Dharma, to entrust ourselves to the working of the Buddha of infinite light and infinite light. I think when you look at the image of Amida Buddha, you see this golden statue. You see this golden radiance statue with all these rays coming out. And this is supposed to represent the ultimate form of enlightenment. Now, looking at all of you, looking at me, looking at people who are not part of the service, is our skin gold? No. Are we totally enlightened? Absolutely not. We are probably very far from enlightenment. I am very far from enlightenment. But that doesn't mean that I don't look to Amida Buddha as a shining example of what I could be. These, I think, coming back to our this world existence, to the Olympics or seeing Olympians, it's very good to surround ourselves with people to take example from. Whatever you are passionate about, whether it be music, whether it be scholarly pursuits, whether it be chess, whether it be Go, whether it be any type of, even if you're into skateboarding and you see athletes in that aspect as well. I think it's good to surround ourselves with people who inspire us to be better or to work harder. And it's really important for us to not become complacent in our own, I guess you could say, like comfort necessarily. This is not to say that I want you all to lead uncomfortable lives, but I feel like watching the Olympics, taking place in the softball game, working really hard at all of these aspects of our individual lives can actually teach us a great deal about working harder and better for our own self-benefit in terms of spiritual and emotional and mental health and physical health as well. Spiritually speaking, it's very hard for us to let go of our ego and to say the Nembutsu without necessarily thinking that this is going to benefit me in some way, or at least a selfish benefit. But on the other hand, this is why Amida Buddha exists in the first place. We can see this perfect shining example of a being who attained perfect enlightenment, not necessarily to say that this is the way that we should always be, or this is how we should be in our everyday lives, but to actually show us that there is other working for us, and that we can take example of that and how we live our lives as well. We are not perfect. We stumble, we fall, we make mistakes, we lose matches sometimes we win, sometimes we become arrogant, sometimes we learn a great deal of humility. This is the teaching for all of us here. And I think that for all of us, in terms of losing, or in terms of when we don't get the gold medal, it teaches us a great sense of humility. Sometimes athletes don't, grasp this concept, and they start to blame other people, make excuses, or to, say other types of things have happened to contribute to their loss, which may not necessarily be untrue, but this is the wrong type of thinking. It's the same thing for all of us and everything in our everyday lives. Buddhism teaches us how this ego and this egocentric mind can get in the way, right? When something doesn't go our way during the day, or when we turn, or someone cuts us off in traffic, we get mad. But all of these causes and conditions culminate together to teach us that, we are not perfect and infallible human beings. And just because, even if we did win, or even if you do win, that doesn't mean that, this is the end all be all, right? That's why we have tournaments every year. That's why we continuously have either competitions or exercises or demonstrations, or even even when you think about it, Sunday services. We try our best to put together this service as maybe the same, or maybe as normally, right, quote unquote, as possible, to bring us all a real deep sense of the Dharma. And things don't always go perfectly. Sometimes there's a technical failure. There have been a couple occasions, I will fully admit, where I've forgotten to make the rice. There have been other occasions where a candle will go out. Sometimes something doesn't go perfectly, and that is okay. It teaches me a lesson in humility. It's not to, these aren't lessons for me to become complacent in error or just give up or become lazy. These are lessons for me on how to improve the quality of the services that we bring here. These are lessons for me to see how I can better help teach Shinran Shonin's teaching. And Shinran Shonin, by the way, our founder of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, was very quick and was very upfront with how imperfect he actually was. With these, we don't demand perfection. We don't demand that we be perfect 100% of the time. That is humanly impossible. And yet at the same time, we can strive to live our lives to the best of our ability. We can strive to live in the example of Amida Buddha's unhindered wisdom and compassion. It is very good to surround ourselves with pictures, with statues, in a religious sense of the Buddha of immeasurable light and immeasurable life, as well as the Buddha of this world, Shakyamuni Buddha, who attained perfect enlightenment. Will we attain perfect enlightenment during the lifetime that we live? Maybe not. But at the same time, we can still utilize this story and the many stories of the Buddha as a shining example on how we can live our lives to the best of our ability and to treat others with the best of intentions. We may make mistakes, we may stumble, we may accidentally offend someone. This isn't a sign to get defensive and to say, well, I didn't mean any offense. This is a sign to say, thank you very much for teaching me of something new I can learn. So this is, I think, a wonderful season for me personally to see all of these athletes in the softball game for things sometimes not to go right. It teaches me that I still have a lot of work to do. Maybe I will never get to the state of perfection that we may want or that all of us may want. We may all not get to that stage of perfection. And yet at the same time, the wisdom and compassion of Amida Buddha will still work purely for our benefit and to show us the way of enlightenment. I would like to thank all of you for coming today. And on a final note, I would like to thank everyone, all people who came, members and non-members, community members alike, to our Obon last weekend to celebrate our ancestors who have long passed before us. Without all of you coming here, every single one of you who came to support the temple, we would not be able to have a successful Obon event. It is so wonderful, and I am so grateful and filled with a great deep sense of humility when I see so many people coming to the temple, working in different aspects, whether it be the kitchen, the social hall, the hondo, the dancing outside, the setting up, the taking down, everything. It takes so much work. And yet because of the love and the compassion and the togetherness of this community, we are still able to come together and hold a very successful event. Thank you all very much for attending today's service. And in closing, will you please join me in Gassho? The Buddha said to Ananda, the majestic radiance of the Buddha of immeasurable life is exalted and supreme. The radiance of other Buddhas cannot compare with it. For this reason, the Buddha of immeasurable life is called Buddha of immeasurable light, Buddha of boundless light, Buddha of unhindered light, Buddha of incomparable light, Buddha of light that is Lord of blazing light, Buddha of the light of purity. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.